Welcome to Library Out Loud, a conversation about any and all things related to the Spokane County Library District. Library Out Loud is brought to you by the Spokane County Library District and our friends at STCU. Now, here's your host, Jane Baker.
Hello and welcome to Library Out Loud. I'm Jane Baker with the Spokane County Library District. Joining me today is Amber Williams. Hello, Amber.
Good morning.
You are the Managing Librarian of Strategic Initiatives at the County Library District. That's a long title. We have some long titles. We like our words, right? But you have an exciting job, at least from my point of view, a super exciting job. And we get to talk about one of your big projects today, which is the Community Vision Tree. Is that correct? We're calling it the right thing?
It is an aspect of the much bigger project of the fact that Spokane County Library District is in a process of strategic planning. Mm-hmm. And as the strategic initiative librarian whose position is directed by what those initiatives are on our strategic plan, this is mine to develop and run. And so
it's very exciting. Let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
Let's start a little bit with how this all started and what exactly it is. So I know this was a few years ago that we had done something similar to this called Community Conversations. How did that come about?
In 2014, then Deputy Director, now Executive Director Patrick Rowe, applied for a grant with American Library Association. And kind of surprising, we got it to be part of a 10 library cohort. So 10 libraries were chosen of more than 100 applicants across the country, of varying sizes libraries, to be part of the Libraries Transforming Communities Initiative, LTC for short.
Mm-hmm. It's quite an honor.
It really was. And it came with, we took a trip to Denver. We spent 3 days going through the Harwood Institute Public Innovator Training.
Wow.
And Community Conversations is one of their tools. And prior to this grant, Harwood Institute mostly focused on working with nonprofit agencies such as United Way, including United Way Spokane, and public radios and cities. And it's this idea of community engagement and really defining what community engagement is, because most of us, when we describe engagement, what we're really talking about is advocacy. And so let me set the definition right now. Advocacy is, I'm going to tell you how awesome we are and why you should use us.
Absolutely.
Community engagement is, how about you tell me what a great community looks like, and I'm going to figure out how I can be part of that. So all these different tools, and because this was part of a grant, we signed the papers and said we will follow through on this 18-month process. We did our training, we came back to Spokane, we trained the librarians, and the librarians went out into our various communities and hosted community conversations. These conversations are, upwards of 90 minutes long, and there's not a single question about the library. It is all, what do you want in your community?
Yes.
Community aspirations. And we hosted over 70 of them over the course of about 8 months.
And what kind of groups did you talk to?
We did open house, where we just, who wants to come and have this conversation with us? We specifically sought out service organizations, groups that we worked with. We talked to our staff, frontline staff, behind-the-scenes staff. Who can we be introduced to? We were hosting conversations with people's book clubs, and we partnered with churches because one of the hardest groups to reach are parents, especially parents of young kids, because finding a time where they have 90 minutes to spend with you is tough.
Especially when they'd rather spend that 90 minutes taking a nap,
Or perhaps even with their kids.
Oh, Lord.
So we spoke to, a large variety, and the information that we gathered, we wrote our strategic plan based off of it. And it's not actually called a strategic plan at Spokane County Library District. We call it a community engagement plan.
Yes.
And we took those aspirations what people most wanted, the barriers, what are the issues that we think we have keeping us from reaching those aspirations. And we wrote this community engagement plan, and as a library shifted our services to meet those priorities.
Sounds perfect. Sounds exactly like a strategic plan should work. Yes.
So 2016, 17, 18,
yes.
which means this is the last year of the plan that we wrote, and we need to do it again.
Yes, it was a 3-year plan, and out of that plan came our 4 service points.
Exactly.
Which are early learning, which is for kids 0 through third grade. And then there was education and enrichment, which is everyone from 3rd grade on.
Yes.
That's
a
big one.
Yeah, cultural engagement. We heard a lot about we want more things for our kids where they're at.
Yes.
So we shifted and we do far more programming outside of our library than we actually do inside of our libraries.
Yes.
For that age group now.
A lot of people are surprised to hear that. They're saying, well, the library's here?
Yeah.
You don't have to come to the library. We've
No.
been out there. And our librarians, you especially have been out there meeting with people in groups and taking our library services to the people.
And
such a big statement.
our business team.
Yes. And then so our 3rd priority was the business and career development. And then the 4th one was
Digital services.
Digital services. Yes.
Because we heard a lot about people wanting to connect. And, the thing is, you can hear these things and we try. And not everything pans out.
Sure.
And it kind of, we need to go back to that drawing board, and we probably need to ask more questions. Because I think one of the classic things that comes up is across the county, when people discuss what kind of community they want, they say safety. We want
Absolutely.
a safe community.
Everyone wants safety.
But safety means something different.
Absolutely.
In Deer Park, where I was at, safety meant addressing what they call Coffin Corner on 395, where there are deaths because of people being T-boned, pulling out onto 395. And in Medical Lake, safety had a lot more to do with the deer. And deer on roadways, deer in gardens. The deer were identified as this big thing. Those are very different. And so that's part of this conversation, though, is, well, not just your aspirations, but really, what do you mean by that?
Yes, yeah.
And that helps us have more success as we try and address the things that you most want to see.
And this is really great for the smaller cities and towns in our service area. And I know that we're at the moment sitting here in downtown Spokane, and we all say we're from Spokane, no matter where we are, but we're taking our services out to the smaller communities just because that is our service area, the Spokane County. So you mentioned Deer Park, Medical Lake, and I'm just reminding our listeners here of the different areas that we serve. And we have a library in Cheney, Moran Prairie, even though that's part of Spokane, we're just outside the city limits, Spokane Valley, and Otis Orchards.
And Fairfield?
Fairfield, south in the South Valley, and Argonne, and then there's North Spokane. And yes, I remembered them all. So each one of those communities, you were having these conversations in. So when they're talking about what it means for their community, they're talking about their community. Yeah. So what... so many questions I want to ask you, including what kind of questions do you ask besides safety, or what do you see?
You lead
as
off with, what are your community aspirations? What kind of community do you want to live in? Why is that important to you?
That's a big question.
It is, and most people haven't been asked, but
Right.
we all have an answer. And from there, it's, well, what are our issues, though? Why don't we live in that community? What are our issues? And in a community conversation where we take a much deeper dive into those issues, we then discuss, well, let's pick one issue. What's the most pressing one? And we really kind of break down, how does this affect you personally? And is it getting better? Is it getting worse? And then into, well, what can we do to make a difference? Which is, of course, the $1,000,000 question.
Always, yes.
Who has the answer?
Yes.
To it.
And it's not always the library.
No.
Yes.
And because we so specifically say, like, this isn't about the library. This is about your community. It's actually very rare that people bring up the library as a solution, because they really are thinking of their community. And that's, we see those then missing gaps. And admittedly, it's not always in the library's wheelhouse to address the things that we're hearing. But part of our commitment in asking these questions is we will report out. We will tell, your city council. We will tell, in the case of, Deer Park and 395, the Washington State Department of Transportation, like, this is what we're hearing. And because I don't know, I know traffic law because I sit behind a wheel, but I don't know traffic engineering. I don't even know what that career is called. But I know it's Washington State Department of Transportation. So a commitment to share and not sit on this information.
Yes. So that's exactly right. You ask these questions, and we can't do, we can't, we being the library, cannot fix the road, but we have enough influence to be able to send that information and that feedback we've heard to them, so they're aware. Now, whether or not they do anything, that's a different story, but at least we have shared this information and it's come to their attention, and they know it didn't come from just any crazy idea. We're doing this very methodically and with great thought and intention, so they know it's not just out there idea, that it's come from something.
Exactly.
So during the 90 minutes, how many questions do you ask? Or I suppose it varies.
This would be then the 2014-2015 round, and there were 11 questions.
Wow.
So off of the fact that as a culture, SCLD has really shifted, and we think that the impact has been positive in our communities, having done the community engagement plan how we did. And so here we are in 2018, and it's time to do it again.
Yes.
I say we in a royal way, but what I mean is I have adapted our Harwood tools.
Okay.
I've done enough of them often enough to know what we took the most value from the first time around. And it was a grant process, which means we were required to follow through on the things we said we were going to do, and we did. But we're not under those restraints right now and those parameters. So I have changed the process a bit, and I've changed the script for those questions. And instead of asking somebody for 90 minutes, we're looking at 60 minutes. It's a 60-minute conversation, and there are 8 questions now.
So a little more doable for the participant. So you're starting this all again.
Yes.
And instead of calling them, we called them community conversations before. They still are.
We still are hosting community conversations, but we want to make sure that everybody who wants to contribute has an opportunity to, and that's where that community vision tree comes in.
Great. So we're going to take a break here in a minute, and then we're going to come back and talk more about what's happening now, how people can get involved, and where the information is going to be used. So we'll be right back right here on Library Out Loud.
Today I will spark an idea.
Today I'll help a student uncover the mysteries of DNA.
Today I will nurture creativity.
Today, I'll help someone figure it out.
Today, I will protect our future by digging into the past.
Today, I will build a business that makes learning fun.
How will the future look?
What will we discover?
Invent.
Create.
Will we find ways to revive our planet?
Develop meaningful, high-paying jobs.
When most of those jobs don't even exist yet.
It'll happen because
we'll be the ones to invent those jobs.
It starts with better skills in math and science.
Engineering.
Technology.
And the arts.
It takes a willingness to try.
And fail.
And try again.
Because great things never happen on the first try.
Some communities are defined by geography.
Ours is defined by a vision
that encourages everyone
to develop a passion for learning.
It happens when high school freshmen learn college-level science.
When a teacher learns robotics.
When ideas are sparked with play.
By providing the tools to tinker.
And the space to create.
And our future gets better when we learn from our past.
I'm Randy.
I'm Mike.
I'm Brooke.
I'm Lexi.
She's Barb.
He's Marty.
We're all connected by a credit union
that's invested in our community
for over 80 years.
Supporting teaching, learning,
and creating.
To make sure your future
and mine
are here for good.
SDCU, here for good.
Snoring can disrupt marriages and cause serious health problems. Call Sleep Better Northwest first, the experts in dental sleep medicine. Their medically approved, custom-fit oral appliances will have both you and your partner sleeping better and being more productive throughout your day. Don't wait. Snoring and sleep apnea can signal potential strokes or heart attacks. For more information, visit needbettersleepnow.com and download our health guide today. Sleep Better Northwest, the experts in dental sleep medicine.
Is your child having trouble coping with a personal disability, but don't know where to go? Consider our friends at Breakthrough Incorporated. Breakthrough takes great pride in mentoring their DDA clients who have intellectual disabilities and their BRS clients who have challenging behaviors toward the creation of safe, appropriate, ethically sound life goals. They integrate programs at school and home to enrich their lives. They work hard to make a positive difference in you and your family's lives. Breakthrough provides a highly structured, fully staffed residential setting in local neighborhoods, 6 in Spokane and 2 in the Tri-Cities. Diagnoses affect people differently, so their service to each resident is unique, giving them the opportunity to grow and evolve. For more information on Breakthrough, visit their website at breakthroughincorporated.org.
Welcome back to Library Out Loud. I'm Jane Baker with the Spokane County Library District with Amber Williams, the Managing Librarian of Strategic Initiatives. And we are talking about, I want to default calling it community conversations, but which is what they are, but we're calling them the Vision Tree. Am I getting this right?
So
Community Vision Tree.
Yeah. And so a community conversation is just one of our tools for gathering a community's aspirations, and it's really your vision for your community.
Yes.
But because of the time commitment involved in that and scheduling and all that sort of jazz, we want to make sure that everybody who wants to contribute has an opportunity.
Yeah.
And based off of, if we go back to the grant process, one of our other libraries in the cohort, Columbus Public Library in Wisconsin, which is it's a small library. They did something called Root for Columbus, and it was a broad way to gather information. And so kind of based off of that model, what could we do with our 11 locations? And we're going to put up in June a tree, and it's the Community Vision Tree.
Okay.
So
not a real tree.
Not a real tree.
Okay.
It's a tree decal.
Yes. Goes on the wall.
It goes on a wall
Okay.
or a window. And Post-it notes asking that question. What is your vision for your community? If you want to say it in one word, if you want to say it in 2, 4, what fits on the Post-it. But if you want to say it in more words, then on our website we will have a survey. And survey is a really strong word for what it is, because it's really just that one question again.
Yeah.
What do you want for your community? And if you fill it out but want to have that more in-depth conversation, then you can provide your email or your phone, and you'll be contacted by a library staff person to follow up with you.
And find out more information on what you want to say.
Mhm.
So, awesome. So this starts in June.
Yes.
And we'll have this tree with Post-it notes on the walls and windows, and simple. One question.
Yeah.
It's not a simple question, but it is just the one question, and somebody could answer it with one word or a small penmanship on a Post-it note.
If your handwriting is better than mine, that'll work.
and then just put it on the wall. You stop by the library and do it, even if you're not, normally on your way to the library. We hope you are, but even if you're not, just stop by. Costs nothing. You get in, you get your input into what you'd like to see. What are some things you're hearing? Is it too soon to ask this? I know you've just gotten started on this. So
I have actually only been at one of the community conversations that we've hosted so far, and having read through the notes of another, both groups, quite separately from one another, brought up, again, youth.
Yeah.
They're identifying that we need more support for youth in our communities. And I say they being, again, two groups. And we will talk to, far, far more than that. But,
Sure.
It's always fascinating, because this is 3 years later, and it lets us know kind of where a community has shifted. And while we gather information for the whole district to use in our strategic planning process, we very much still keep separate those identities of our communities.
Yes.
Because not everybody needs the same thing. And we don't want, trying to include everybody, generalize. We really make the attempt to, gut check essentially. Like, am I doing what Deer Park needs?
Yes.
Recognizing that what Deer Park needs is definitely different than what perhaps Otis Orchards or Spokane Valley, definitely different.
Yeah. I mean, well, Spokane Valley population of 95,000 is a little bit different than Medical Lake. I don't know the Medical Lake population, but I know it's not quite as large as Spokane Valley. So there's different issues going on, and when we have libraries at both, we do make sure to recognize and honor the identity of our individual communities. I have to say, that's one of the thrilling parts about my job. I feel that when I'm dealing with people in the different cities and communities, that each one is unique, and we honor that and do what we can to foster that. Yeah.
I think the other thing that, again, why we're choosing to do it this way, I say the royal we, why I'm choosing to do it this way is because all of our communities and all of our community librarians can authentically go into their communities and ask these questions and say, this is what you said last time, or this is what I heard from the community last time, and this is what we did, which shows that we have the follow-through, and we really are literally putting the money where our mouth is, because we heard what you wanted, and this is how we are trying to help you grow that community vision and be just what you want to be. Yeah.
A couple things come to mind. First of all, it's surprising to people that it's the library. You have to admit, and there's a lot of people out there that still see us as just a building that has books on the shelves, and librarians are reading books, and sometimes kids come in and we read stories to kids, and that's all we do, but that's not even... that's not at all what is happening with libraries. We're very progressive this way in getting out and talking to the community and doing things. So that's one great thing, and one thing that we're shifting and people are thinking about libraries. We're part of the community. We're very much a community resource that way, and that's how we see that resource. So that's awesome. And then how many groups do you have? Now, you've gotten started on this. How long is this process going to go? All summer? How long are the trees up in the library? How often can I get in and write my thoughts on a Post-it note?
The trees will be up in June and perhaps July, and we will be hosting community conversations, following up with people. The survey will be up all summer, and following up with people who want contacted for a more in-depth conversation through the entire summer.
Awesome.
As the strategic planning process goes, you write this, it goes to the board amends the draft, you write it again, and looking for final approval in December, just because January of 2019 is looming.
Yes. It's a deadline to have the new strategic plan going. So.
And how this works is we take this information and find those trends and match what fits the library's wheelhouse, so that we can realign ourselves and shift and adjust where we need to. Look at the services we're providing now and how do they match what our community actually wants. And that's a process, and it'll take us all fall, because
yes, it will.
Changes people's jobs. It changes our focus. And
yes, it does.
We follow through with that change.
It does. We're not selling anything. We're not in it to make a profit. That's just not what we do. We're doing it for the good, for the good of the library, for the good of the community, to make sure that we're providing what that community wants and needs.
If we're not asking this question, how are we relevant to what a community needs
exactly
now versus what we think they need / what we think they should need, which is really egotistical of us. So we'll go this other route.
Yes. No, this is great. This is great. So the conversations are pretty much scheduled, and what we need to do is remind people to go to scld.org SCLD.org. That's SCLD for Spokane County Library District.org, starting in June. And put in their aspirations. What is your vision for your community? I'm not sure it's always an easy answer. It's not an easy, if you ask me, I have so many things I would want to say. It would be...
and if I was asking you and you said something like safety, I'd be like, Jane, tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Like, what is safety?
What does it mean to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
exciting.
I want that real definition.
Yes. Oh, it's great work. Great work. Thank you for doing this in the community. And I look forward to hearing more about the results and moving on with our new strategic plan in 2018. Thank you for coming on the program. I know you're a busy lady, so we'll have you back again to tell us more about it after these conversations are over with then.
All right.
All right. For Library Out Loud, I'm Jane Baker. We'll see you next time.
Library Out Loud is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is solely responsible for its content. Ask a question, recommend a guest, and hear this program again online anytime at SpokaneTalksOnline.com. Library Out Loud is brought to you by the Spokane County Library District and STCU. Go visit and explore your local library today.